views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, wow, everybody. Welcome. It's so great. I'm Dr. Pat. Leslie Fonteyne is in the house. This is our Sheer Alchemy segment. And what a topic we've got for all of you guys. Allowing the void to create abundance. I love this. This is so in line with our theme this year for accelerated expansiveness. And, you know, what is it about that void that we absolutely start to cringe? We start to break out in hives. We start to do all crazy things. But here's the deal. When we decide to go in that new direction, make a change or a shift of our energy, there can be an empty space that includes not knowing what's next. Wow. Today, we're going to talk about with Leslie why it's tempting to carry the baggage with us just to fill that dang thing. And how that actually works or doesn't work for us. Leslie, as I love talking about, is a transformation catalyst. And, you know, if you haven't met her in person, you're going to be able to catch her at one of the events she's going to and presents at, or you could schedule one-on-one time with her. She is known for the Leslie Fonteyne experience and her Abundance Now events. You know, this is really a conversation that each of us gets to have about how we're going to step forward. With Leslie, she teaches people, all of us, how to clear the energy systems so that we can achieve our own personal goal. You know, does she do it alone? No. A team of ascended masters, archangels, they are brought in, they are here now. And what happens next? What happens next is sheer alchemy. Leslie, great to have you here.
Oh, I am so glad to be here. This is a great, great topic. And, you know, we're still in the beginning of the year. So, you know, for a lot of people, maybe we did a January like a false start or something, but this is a chance to hit the redo button.
Right. You know, I love this idea because, you know, let's talk about the idea of the void. And I briefly gave a description of what the void is. But, you know, sometimes that we don't know that we're in that space of the void. We just know how it feels. It may be uncomfortable. What does that mean, you know, allowing the void?
Well, a lot of us are on autopilot. We sort of have a way we want to live or how we think life should be. And, you know, I work with so many clients who you know, they want to change, they want to shift. We clear out agreements. We clear out a lot of debris and baggage in our field that, you know, really doesn't suit us anymore. And then there's the freak out. And the freak out is, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And it's that moment of not knowing that for many of us, we've been taught is wrong. It's just wrong to not know. And you know, we're supposed to know what's next. And you'll meet those people, right, in your circle of friends who go, well, what are we going to do now? And where are we going to go now? And what's next? And then what's the plan? And they've got to have it mapped out. And that's a form of security. But when you've cleared out the old baggage and you're stepping into what you said you want, right, the new stuff, the new energy, there is this period where it's not nothingness. It's almost like a blank palette to create on. And that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that is so interesting about this, I think you and I both have been at this space. You know, I mean, sometimes, though, it shows up from a place of loss. So, for example, in 1991, 1992, I lost a job after 24 and a half years. Now, I'm telling you, you'd think that I had a bell-shaped tattoo on my forehead. That's how how much I identified, with the telephone company and my job. I really did. I never thought in a million years I would not be there. And when that happened, truly, if I'd have had the conversation we're having today, I may have gotten some additional insight. But does it always have to be a loss that creates a void?
Well, that's the filter we have. That's the interpretation we have of, what a void is. It's somehow a loss. We've been taught even that, to be creative is a loss, that, to create something new and not know what that new thing is, that's the creative process that we have to learn to understand within ourselves. So sitting in the void, I tell people often, your feelings won't kill you. It's the same thing with the void. It won't kill you either. You're going to sit in that place and be uncomfortable. And the discomfort is going to, sit there with you. And if you can allow it as long as you can, like stretching a rubber band, you're going to start to get some insight and some ideas. But first, the insecurities are going to come up, the fear is going to come up, and you're going to ask yourself, do I want to hold on to this? What about this is bothering me? Then that's where I start bringing in, the work to do the clearing of agreements and contracts, because these are agreements with parents and teachers and bosses of this is what life is supposed to look like. I'm supposed to know what to do next. I'm supposed to bring in the next deal. How do I do that when I don't know what the heck to do?
One of the things that we're going to talk about today is, this idea of being in this place and how easily it is to have fear of the unknown and doubt. Fear of the unknown and doubt. I did a whole show a couple of years ago just on doubt, and we talked about it again. Yeah. And I would love for you to talk about this, because people talk about fear and doubt as if they were the same. I don't know if they are not, but I'll tell you, for me, Leslie, I know when I'm afraid of something. I just know it. There isn't much I am afraid of, but I know when I am. Doubt, a little bit more tricky for me. Can you see what I'm saying there?
Oh, I can. And by the way, fear won't kill you either. Fear is still an unknown. It doesn't have mass. It doesn't have something tangible and hard. It's something we've learned. Doubt is also something we've learned. I doubt myself. I think I went through a little something yesterday. And, when it comes up on us, we don't exactly know that that's what's happening. It takes it a little bit for us to recognize, oh, wow, I'm starting to really tear myself down here. I'm starting to think I've got to grasp and reach out for things that, make sense to me. And so in that moment, the hardest thing in the world is to just stop and to sit with it. Sometimes we would so much prefer to be on autopilot, to go to that job, to do those normal things, to, fill up our time with activity and whatnot. But the doubt is a low self-esteem issue. It is a fear that we're going to make a mistake. 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. It's the fear that we won't do it right. We'll make a mistake. We can't trust ourselves, because one thing that we learned going through school is to stop trusting ourselves. It's to trust the voice out there. It's to trust the news. It's to trust the boss. It's to trust whatever someone said about the economy. Not to go within and go, wow, I'm getting this idea. No one else is going to understand this, but I really feel like this is the thing to do. And I know you've been through that many times.
Yeah. And, this is an important conversation, because if we truly believe, right, if people listening to the show, which they have already told us, are feeling an accelerated pace of things, are feeling an expansive nature of things, if that's truly happening and we're sensing it, then what is it about making a change or a shift of our energy that leads us to that empty space? And what do we do next? That's what Leslie's going to talk about. Now, today, Leslie, we're also opening up the phones.
Absolutely.
So let's tell folks a little bit about, what the phones are open for, what they're invited to call in about.
Well, we want to talk about what this empty space is. If you're listening to this and something is resonating with you, what probably is hitting is that you made a decision within yourself. Maybe you haven't stepped into it yet. Maybe you're about to step into it. And, you know, we miss the team, don't we? We miss that group of people that is supporting us in what we're choosing to create. Often when we're stepping into the void, we're stepping into it alone. And even that, we feel like something's wrong. Why isn't everyone else coming with me? Why do I have to support myself and be strong for myself? And this is where we're going to bring in the masters and the archangels, and we're going to teach people how to do that so that they're not on their own.
I love it. We're going to take a short break, everyone. Sheer Alchemy, Leslie Fonteyne, and me. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what else might we fill the void with. How about unlimited possibilities? We're going to take a short break, everyone. When we come back, phone lines are open. 1-800-930-2819. 1-800-930-2819. And just want to remind everyone, transformationtalkradio.com and the drpatshow.com. Right on the right-hand side, you go ahead and you put your question in there, and I will make sure I get them up on air and get you some assistance here today. Take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back with Leslie Fonteyne, Sheer Alchemy.
Almost everyone at some time in their lives ask themselves, what am I? Most of our questions are ego-generated and simply don't address the problem of our false self. It's time to relax your ego and embody your soul. Dr. Dan Cohen, neurologist, inventor, and author, has created tools to awaken, a new way to transform from who you thought you were into what you truly are. Visit toolstoawaken.com today.
Get ready to experience Truth Talk Radio with host Deb Acker. Tune in to Truth Talk Radio each Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com to illuminate the truth in your daily life as you experience life, love, and abundance from a whole new perspective. This hit show will leave you feeling lighter and bring you into a place of infinite possibilities every day in every way. Visit TruthTalkRadioshow.com for upcoming transformative topics and guests.
The life you're dreaming of is waiting for you to say yes. Together, we can create a powerful, love-centered world where business is not a competition, but a community of highly conscious individuals making a positive impact in their own lives and the lives of others. Fun, flexible, fabulous. You make the rules. We offer the tools. Connect with Shelley today to learn more at Live, Love, Earn with Shelley. That's SHELLEY.com.
Holistic Medical Center is where you find it all. A healthy space with doctors who care, see, and listen to the whole you. Hi, this is Dr. Darvish. If you have not found an answer to your chronic symptoms, you will find answers here at Holistic Medical Center. Our doctors find the root cause of your symptoms and guide your body towards healing naturally. We transform lives from within. Visit drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
Naturopathic doctor, founder of the Martha's Vineyard Holistic Retreat, and author of the New York Times bestseller 21 Pounds in 21 Days, Dr. Ronnie DeLuce has helped tens of thousands of people, including celebrities and athletes, with her message of lifestyle change. Now Dr. Ronnie DeLuce wants to help you. You too can be saved. Email Dr. Ronnie DeLuce at info@ronniedeluceonradio.com and visit mvholisticretreat.com. Dr. Ronnie DeLuce, your partner in wellness.
I said no one has to know what we do. His hands are in my hair, his clothes are in my room, and his voice is a familiar sound. Nothing lasts forever.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's so great to have all of you tuning us in and turning us on. And as you know, I love to remind everybody, if you want to find out more about Leslie, you can do it a couple different ways. You can go to lesliefontaine.com. That's Leslie, Leslie. Fonteyne is FONTEYNE.com, or as many of you can do, you can go online and you can simply Google Sheer Alchemy and boom, there she is right at the top. So for those of you out there, you can also find out more about her events. February, March, April, a number of these events. And, Leslie, folks can find out more about this on your website, but you're actually going to be doing an event in Seattle and Portland here in March and April. Mm-hmm. So those are exciting, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're great. It's going to be fun to be local for a little bit.
Well, we're 1-800-930-2819. Phone lines are open. Are you ready to get some assistance? Are you ready to invite the Ascended Masters into the conversation? We are talking about today allowing the void to create abundance. I love this. Mm-hmm. Allowing the void to create abundance. Yep. Leslie, for a minute, let's talk about the idea of creating abundance. And, what are some of the things that, we do that will either open the door, the floodgates, as they like to say, or build a dam around our abundance?
Well, right now, the image that I have for a lot of people listening is that we're really tight in our heart space and we're a bit tight in our solar plexus. And if our listeners can kind of go into that space a bit and just allow it to expand and connect with their desire, connect with what they're wanting to create, and notice where the fear is showing up. Notice where some of the voices are coming through in terms of what you can or can't do, what you can or can't be. Those are the reasons that this void is there. So, we don't go into the creation of abundance just in and of itself, like that's what it's about. It's just to make money. It's just to be successful. It's just to, prove to other people that we can be great, that we can be amazing. Spirit has a much higher goal than that. And so sometimes we're holding ourselves back and looking almost for a quick fix to achieve the finances or achieve the security or achieve the stability to get through that place of fear. So if you notice right now in your spirit where you're feeling some fear, then that's the place that we want to go into and do some work. And that's what the void's about. So when we feel completely alone, it's because we feel that we're by ourselves. That's often our inner child, just feeling completely alone with who we are and what we're about and the energy we felt. If we were always the one that was different in the family and we were always the one that was a little more creative or a little more sensitive. I talked to so many people who just, they had to hide their sensitivity growing up. So here you are in this place. So now, instead of feeling alone just in the physical, we want to bring in some of the spirit and light beings that are available to us to help us get through this void place. And then it becomes the void playground. How about that?
I love it. And, isn't that interesting about the void playground? Because I immediately am drawn to, the idea of being in this place, of being in a playground where you have so many options, where you as a child and then an adult, move from that phase of being in that playground where just about everything is possible to growing up and being adult, where all of a sudden the invitations and opportunities that you thought you had suddenly dissipate. They're suddenly gone. One of the things that I know you're going to talk about is the idea of the void. And some people talk about the void as a nothingness. But I think that you're talking about the void as this incredible place, this place where gold may exist, richness may exist. What does the richness consist of?
Well, it consists of our spirit. It consists of our higher self. It consists of the guidance that we can get in that place. If we have a lot of noise going on, I have some friends and they have to have, the radio going. They have to have noise going. They have to have people around them. They have to have all kinds of stuff, just to distract them because silence they hate. Absolutely hate it. It's like a blank piece of paper when you're going to write a book. Some word has got to fill the page. And, I remember one of my favorite quotes of James Joyce was, someone said, well, how did you do today, James? And he says, well, I wrote 6 words. And they said, oh, that's great, James. And they said, he said, well, the problem is I don't know what order they go in. So, that's one of the greatest writers of our time. And when we think about void, we have a performance sphere as well on top of it. as if somehow we're going to have to be perfect right away. We're going to have to know how. Now, one of the ideas and thoughts that may come to you in the void is, do I go to school? Do I hire the help? Do I acquire the knowledge myself? Do I build a team? There may be many things. And then in that process of getting the answers, as I've talked many times on other shows, we will get the thoughts, well, how am I going to pay for that? Where am I going to find the people? Well, that is our insecurity. That's our fear that we're not worth it. That's our fear that, we can't fund it. It's back to, again, it's all about me. We're not thinking about Source and Spirit coming in and helping us to create this new thing. But if we can expand that rubber band a bit from 10 minutes of silence to 15 minutes to 20 minutes, it's amazing how long that time is, isn't it?
It is. And what I'm really struck by, and I know this for myself as well, how really good we are, Leslie, to argue for our limitations. Mm-hmm. Masterful to argue with ourselves most of the time, but even with other people about either not being deserving, not knowing how, not having enough tools, not having enough education, not having enough time. That gets to be a big one now. And yet at the same time, it's the same energy that if we were to capture it, and I think that's what you're talking about today, wow, why don't we argue for our abundance?
Well, the inadequacy and that sense of inadequacy is not a mistake. So back to whatever this is about, it's not about that. When you get the thought and the idea, you've released your contracts and agreements, you've chosen to step into something new. You don't know how to do it. You don't know what it's like. It's like going to a new country, a new state, and you're sitting there and you're realizing these fears and inadequacies that you've managed to cover up for a long time. So now you're choosing to step into those things, to clear out those fears and go, what was the source of that? Is it my ancestral line? Is it past lifetimes? Is it, a part of my mental self that talks too loud that came from my family? Is it my emotional self that whenever I feel this feeling or see this kind of light or am in the midst of this kind of energy, I always tear myself down? This is this opportunity to expand yourself beyond that. I'm not saying we're suddenly all going to become type A people and run around, making things happen. But this thing has come up in this moment to shift and to clear, to let you know that you truly are all that you are and that you have a whole team that's available to you to create something amazing, to create your abundance and joy.
I love this, Leslie. And, I'm really struck by this for the moment because one of the things that I had to shake off was the idea that abundance takes time. Abundance, I'm going to have enormous amount of decades of transformation, that maybe I got to go through past lives of pain. And boy, I'm telling you that if we were to learn a few tools the way that you teach people, that we can start to see things change in a nanosecond. What is it that we want to hold on to with our thinking, that things have to be hard, they have to take long, and the latest one that I'm hearing is, and by the way, and it costs a lot of money.
Well, those are all beliefs, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
Every one of those is a belief. Every one of those is a message in our field that, this is the truth. I am working with a lot of people, where we're not just dealing with the 3D economy, we're going into 4D and 5D. Well, in those fourth and fifth dimensional economies, it looks very different. It's not about your performance. It's not about your ego. It's not trying to prove something to your family or trying to prove something to your boss. It's a whole different way of living. And so when we go into this different sort of environment in our spirit, we're uncomfortable. And then we have a message about discomfort. So that's what we want to look at. We want to constantly be digging up and excavating these feelings, because for myself and for many of my clients, what we define or identify is that it's the ego, not the bad ego. I'm not talking about, something bad. I'm just saying that it's that part of us that is very finite, that says, I've got to make it happen. I'm not, all that I can be. I'm not able to step into all that I am. I don't know how. I'm inadequate. That part of us is the one that's talking and getting the airtime. That may take a little time. I mean, some people want to just snap their fingers and it's gone. But the reason sometimes it takes a while, Pat, is because we're very attached to that identity. We're very attached to our story. So the period of releasing is what allows us to step into more and more higher and higher vibrations, is the allowing that, okay, if I let go a bit of my story, then I can step into a new identity. I know that you know about changing identity and becoming something, different and new. Well, that is a transitional process.
Yeah. Leslie, I want to talk about this when we come back, because I think you really hit on something here that we don't talk about that often. And that is, what is that process like when we decide that we are truly going to pick something else for ourselves? And, I'm reflecting upon a time, and I was just sitting here thinking about it, and I'm almost like welling up in a few tears here. Because, sometimes I think, wow, why isn't it just easy to go from X to Y and not pay attention to what today's show is all about, really? What are the things that it's time to let go of? Mm-hmm. What are the things of our past? And then how does one feel in that moment where you discover you're in the void of possibilities? Leslie Fonteyne joining us here today. We're going to chat about that and talk about what's next. How can we become that next that we've always desired to be? And what does it even look like? Leslie Fonteyne in the house. We're going to take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back.
Called the Oprah of radio by her listeners, award-winning host Dr. Pat Baccili is blowing the doors off of traditional talk radio. Get ready for an energizing delivery and powerful interviews with leaders in the field of human potential. Dr. Pat's fresh, new perspective on living life full out has catapulted her show to the top of talk radio. Tune in and Dr. Pat will help you thrive instead of merely survive. Visit thedrpatshow.com. That's THEDRPatShow.com for listening times in your area.
Enlightening, humorous, and compassionate. Listen live to The Kelly Ballard Show, insight and inspiration from the great beyond. Kelly is a fourth-generation medium and intuitive who covers topics ranging from grief, spirit guides, and listening to your intuition. Kelly can help you get answers and guidance from the other side with a little bit of humor and a lot of healing. Tune in to The Kelly Ballard Show, Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Baccili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases, it's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
Tune in to Sheer Alchemy with Leslie Fonteyne on TransformationTalkRadio.com and get ready to stir up your passions, identify your blocks, and shift into an entirely new existence. Leslie Fonteyne is a transformation catalyst and clairvoyant who uses her intuitive and energetic gifts to catapult listeners into living the life they were born to live. Whether it's shifting from scarcity to abundance, from emotional pain into joy, or from illness into health, Leslie will help you step into the true essence and power of all that you are with the help of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. You will not be the same. Visit TransformationTalkRadio.com for show dates and times and LeslieFontaine.com to say yes to explosive abundance.
I'm not good at a one-night stand, but I still need love 'cause I'm just a man. These nights never seem to go to plan, and I don't want you to leave. Will you hold my hand?
Wow, everybody. Wow. What a great show. You know, Leslie Fonteyne, for those of you out there who want to find out more about Leslie, you can go to her website, LeslieFontaine.com, or just Google Sheer Alchemy, and boom, she's like right up there. You know, for those of you who are thinking, what are we talking about? What do you mean by void? Allowing the void to create abundance. And, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, man, I don't know what they're talking about. I never get a void. I'm so busy, Leslie. I don't have time. I don't know. Void. What is she talking about? Yeah. How do people even get the void? Well, we're going to talk about this. And, you know, and this is something you've talked about before. Like, okay, yeah, we get really busy. But is it true that, this void must be for people like Pat was talking about that are unemployed, but I don't have a void? Yeah. Is that true, Leslie?
Well, it depends what we're saying a void is, right? So void isn't just I've got plenty of time in my day. A void can be, you know, I'm not stepping into all that I am. I'm doing what I have to do. I'm doing all that I can to just keep my head above water. So we're not diminishing what people are doing to take care of their families or to do the responsibilities that they have on the job. We're talking about this part of ourselves that longs to step into all that we are, that longs to create something that's been with us. You know, I can't tell our listeners what their dreams are, what it is that they're desiring to create or make. I can look at those things that are a part of my identity. Often when I'm working with clients and we're, you know, going through their path and who they were and, you know, the points at which they got shut down, the points at which they were told that, you know, they weren't creative enough, strong enough, powerful enough, or that they were too sensitive, or that they went through a lot of abuse and violation of their boundaries. It's quite a journey to come back from that, but it's their boldness and desire to come through that, to look at who they are now and say, can I come through that? You know, I'm 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. Is it too late? You know, I have so many clients at 60 and 70 that are starting over. So at any point, we can hit the pause button, we can hit the redo button, and we can say, I start now, I create now. I allow this 30 seconds of void, 1 minute of void, the drive between taking the kids to school or going to the drive-through to pick up some food. I allow that moment to step into it. Notice the fear that comes up, because often the fear is about performance and failure. And so why do we fear the void? Performance and failure.
I wanted to ask you about this world of possibilities that shows up when we allow ourselves to be in this space and what it looks like. Because I think you said this when we started on earlier, Leslie, and, you know, we have such an autopilot, if I can call it that for a minute. We have such an autopilot that, oh my gosh, if a space becomes open, let's say even an hour, maybe even 10 minutes, just a space in our physical plane, you know, opens up. We're not thinking, let me sit down and be at peace and quiet. We're not thinking that. We're thinking, oh, where's my video game that I haven't played in, maybe 10 minutes? Or let's turn the TV on. So I would love to hear, you know, what you have learned about the void, how it shows up, and how to know when we're getting ready to take a distraction and plug it right in there.
Well, I know that the people we're talking to today, you know, are they probably have their own method of distraction, whatever it is. I certainly have my favorite tools, and I can easily tell on myself when I'm really not wanting to step into creating something because, creativity takes a lot of work. It takes focus, it takes discipline, and sometimes we're not wanting to go there. And when it's something we haven't done before, there's fear. And I do bring that up because often people stop there, and I want to just call the fear what it is. It's just fear. I don't trivialize it, I don't minimize it. But in this place, if we can just allow ourselves to sit with it just a moment and be hands-free. How about that? Let's just do the hands-free approach and sit with that moment. And now let's bring in the masters and the archangels. Let's bring in the light beings, our higher self, those parts of us that would like to engage in another level. And let's bring out a piece of paper and a pen, and let's just start writing, even if it's random, the thoughts, the ideas, the inspirations, even the fears, even the, naysaying parts of us. And let's just start doing the download. Let's start bringing it in. And let's not be afraid and push it away. And then let's notice whose voice is what. Is it the critical voice of a parent? Is it the negative voice of the energy at work? Is there something about leaving work? Whatever's coming to us, try not to shut it down. This is so important in the void, to not shut down what's coming to us. And then ask ourselves, how do I create this? Do I do this now? Do I step into it? You're going to get an inner knowing. A lot of people are so terrified that they're going to leave their partner, they're going to quit their job, they're going to be thrown out on the street because they step into the possibility of themselves. And that is an entirely different show, which we can definitely go into, and we've talked about many, many times. But in this place, just notice where we're shutting ourselves down and ask ourselves, am I done with that? Am I done with shutting myself down? Am I ready to create something? And make it a yes. Now, in that moment when you say yes, that's when you really feel the power of that void. In that quiet moment where you say yes. Now, the terror is, oh my gosh, the very next second something's going to happen. It can, but it doesn't have to. Just let yourself feel the yes. And often the scared part of us is saying, I'm afraid to be that happy.
Wow. Leslie, earlier in the show, we talked about the idea of, look, we don't have to do this alone. Ascended masters, archangels, they're all around us. I know that in the work that you do, and even right now, they are available to guide, to help us, even at times where we don't know what we don't know. And I wanted to ask you, in the work that you're doing with people, how do they show up to interact with people? And I guess we have to be reminded that, abundance is the world they live in, right?
Absolutely. Source is 100% abundant, 100% healthy, 100% available. So first of all, they come upon invitation. The old days of you will be contacted are over. They come on invitation. So choose to invite your angels. Choose to invite the masters. Choose to invite the light beings. You can go to many websites and look up Ascended Masters and see what resonates with you. Each of these has attributes of source. So see what resonates with you. Invite them in and invite in the guidance. Invite in the vibration of what they bring. I worked with a client last night, and he shared with me all the masters that he had worked with. When I brought in one of them, it was so incredibly powerful. I can't even tell you what it was like. It completely shifted everything in that moment. So try this. Bring them in. It could be Kuan Yin, Babaji, Master Jesus, Divine Mother, so many high ascended masters, and they're all in a hierarchy. So you're working with many vibrations. And you may think, well, I don't have time for this. I'm telling you, literally, you can do this on your way to the drive-thru for lunch. There is not this, I've got to sit like an ascetic in a monastery to do this. They are showing up right there in real time in your presence, and it shifts your vibration immediately. You can feel it. And then you're going to proceed to ask yourself, am I done with all of these limiting thoughts and beliefs? The answer is yes. If you're listening to this show today, if you're choosing to make a change in your life and you've been afraid, say yes. The assumption is often that we are going to make a big mistake. Do you think Source is going to have you make a big mistake? So now say, this is for my highest good and the highest good of everyone involved.
Wow. This is interesting. I was on a call the other day with a friend, and we were on the call with the bank. And talk about money, right? This is our institution. And what's fascinating about this is I'm thinking about what you're saying. Boy, I wish I would have remembered that on the call, because, here we are in this world where your intuition is showing up and you have an authority figure, right, in the money arena.
Right.
And all of a sudden you give your power over to you just like, oh, you must be all knowing, as opposed to letting Source come in and give you the questions to ask, right?
Absolutely.
So isn't that part of it, to allow the void to be infused with questions that will lead us to a level of awareness?
Oh, yeah. It's even in an argument with someone or in a place where someone is not happy with you. It can be very uncomfortable for the other person when you're sitting there going, okay, you may look like you're not responding, but as you bring in the Masters and Archangels, you may suddenly get very peaceful, very calm, and you're waiting for, an appropriate response. You don't want to respond at that level. You want to respond at a higher level. You could bring in your financial guides. You could bring in your emotional guides, your therapy guides, your work guides, all of them. They've been through so many scenarios like you've just described, and it would be fascinating to come from a higher place. And you, Pat, I bet while you were sitting there, were getting some tightness on some of the responses and going, this isn't working, and then maybe looking at the next concern, which is, well, I need this outcome to take care of me. So what part of me is it needing to take care of?
Right.
What is the fear in there? And that's always the next step in all this.
Yeah, I would love, for those of you out there, I've got a couple of questions for Leslie, but if you would like to connect and invite in the Archangels, the Masters, right here with Leslie to create abundance, 1-800-930-2819. 1-800-930-2819. We'd love to hear from you. Leslie, one of the things that I wanted to say is, in that interaction, what was fascinating about that, and I know we all go through this, is it wasn't a matter of, okay, wait a minute, do I actually believe that I'm really limited to this one option? And it wasn't actually even for me. I was helping a friend. It was more like, wait a minute, how about this? Can we do this? And I caught myself in a moment of that where I said, do I think I'm going to ruffle a few feathers if I ask that question? How often do we do that? How often do we acquiesce?
Right. No, we do it often. It's very interesting how all these things come up again. Whatever it's about, it's not about that. This is this opportunity to get the sense of whether your own answer even came to you. And you're thinking, well, I'm not the banker. I'm not the one that has all the information here. This person, is experienced in all this. But you're coming from a much higher place. And so you're going, what am I really doing sitting here? And that's always a fascinating place, isn't it? It's not just about that situation like, okay, well, where do I want to bring the abundance in from? And what do I want to do about this moment of fear or this moment of anxiety or, the people-pleasing part of it or the feeling like nobody's going to give that to me or all of this stuff that surfaces. See, we panic in that moment. We get so frightened because we think it's true and we don't realize it's not true. We have nothing to prove that that's true in that moment.
Leslie, I want to ask you a question about this void and the abundance with regards to what we are willing to ask for. Remember, we were talking about arguing for our limitations, but how about, that unconscious or subconscious argument for limitations, even in what we ask for, right?
Right.
I mean, even in, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't really ask, for that refinance amount. Maybe what I should do is settle for this other thing over here. And so we think we're asking another person or we think we're asking an institution. But we're not really, are we?
No, we're not. And often that institutions there, you've carried your light into the building. You've been that one that's going to show them an alternative. And that's always an exciting piece of the adventure, too. Whatever it's about, it's not about that. But, I found an area, I know finances is one area. I found an area about receiving help.
Yes.
And I realized that I'm always the strong one, and I'm always the one that has the solution, and I'm always the one that can bring things to others. And I noticed that other people get all the help. Now, if I want to be fully honest in my energy field, I need to evaluate where I learned that and how did that become part of my reality, and do I want to continue to create that? Now, that's a very personal level to go into, isn't it? It's not just, wow, nobody helps me. They always think I'm going to be the one. They always think I'm going to be strong. You can hear the whole energy of that whole thing, like, well, would I like to change that? Would I like to shift that? And what happens is that we get a little fearful of going into the depths of where that energy came from. So I release that, and, we can hear the sound of martyrdom, and we can hear the sound of old parental neglect and abandonment. And so in the area of finances, all I want is a measly whatever, right? Why can't they just do this? Why can't they just give me this? That whole sound, if you track it back, and where does it come from in your energy field, you say, am I ready to let go of this? Where did I learn this limitation?
Yeah. Here we are, we started talking about the void, and we start talking about this idea of looking at the void from many, many different places, right?
Right.
And we decide in our lives, wait a minute, I want to make a change, Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
I want something to change. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you right now, the way that I'm showing up each day is just not working for me. I'm not even sure what part of that is not working for me. And so it sounds like a very daunting place to be. But you work with people on a regular basis that do show up like that. How do you help people get started with this conversation about the void?
A lot of times it shows up as a form of depression. It shows up as a form of lack, of I am unfulfilled. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be on the planet. So we always track back to what part of the situation is it that is creating that sense of loss. And again, back to, is the void loss or is the void an opportunity? So by the time I'm done with everyone, it's an opportunity, and we start creating as a result. But we have to agree first that we're going to release the current interpretation of reality, of what we can't do. This is how it is. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm the mom. I'm the dad. I'm the boss. I'm the employee. Whatever it is, I'm the child. This is the way it is in school. I work with so many indigo children, so many starseeds, and they're going, really? This is reality? This is what it's supposed to be? And when you tell them, no, not really, then they're so relieved. They're so glad. But when the older we are, it seems, the harder it is for us to release that perception. So now we let go of that perception and we go, uh-oh, now what? Is it like starting over? Sure it is. And then there's that fear again in the void. So do we want to let go of the fear of starting over? Where did we learn that? We're supposed to be experts by now. No. So can you see how the progression works? So I start working, clearing out all of the agreements, the contracts, the old energies, the abusive, abandoning energies that we've learned, the shaming and humiliation energies, the boundary violating energies, all that. We want to change and bring those contracts and karmic patterns into completion. We don't need to live like that anymore.
Yeah. And, we certainly don't need to fill the void with them.
No.
Certainly, as if all of a sudden we're going to wake up one day and now I've got this void or this void that's showing up in my life. And those things that became a hindrance to me previously, they all of a sudden magically are gone. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they can't be gone, but it's almost as if they're gone from our consciousness because honestly, we just don't want to deal with them.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and we can choose in any moment, back to the snap of the fingers, and it's a change in an instant. That is a change in an instant. We can release that in the moment. Now, what bothers us is the pace of manifestation in the physical, because that's what gets us all anxious. So we have to realize that we are turning our energetic field in another direction. We haven't left the husband or the wife. We haven't quit the job. We're just turning our energy in a completely different direction. We're letting go of all the hindrances, and we're confronting our fears head on, bringing in the masters and the archangels to alleviate and allay some of those fears that we've learned. And we start to realize, wow, we learned these fears from parents and children and the news. You know, they're not necessary. Even our election right now is craziness, right? So we don't need to assume the fears that are being propagated as if we would choose from that place. So notice in your own field where you're choosing from that place and go, am I done? Do I need to do that? And often, you know, I'll talk to people who are very depressed. And, you know, when I suggest beginning to shift and to turn in another direction, there's fear about that. And I'm going, okay, are you willing to let go of this thing that has you held and bound or not? And that's a respectable choice. I give people time for that. They don't have to answer that very second. But take a look at your depression. Take a look at the sadness and go, am I done yet? Do I want to change this? And often there are reasons quite deep that we don't.
Well, you know, for several people that are, you know, listening to the show, a couple of questions have come in. Leslie, thank you, Leslie. Pat, thank you for today's show. Is it okay? This is a great question. Is it okay for me to fill the void with desires of money?
Of course.
There we go.
Of course it is. It's absolutely fine because, again, you're asking permission. So what I'm already hearing from this person is some
Joanne.
View of, you know, worthiness and some view of right and wrong. And take a look at that and go, where am I getting the idea that it's wrong to desire money? As if, is it not spiritual enough? Is it not meaningful enough? Don't judge yourself so harshly. Of course, it's great.
Wow. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I've had moments in my life where I think I've been kind of creative, right? And I've looked at creativity as, oh, wait a minute. I went through a period of time, albeit a short period of time, designing tattoos. I did that. And then that was my creative moment. And then I move on and I say, well, wait a minute. You know, I'm generally not feeling like I'm creative. Isn't that perhaps one of the most challenging aspects of our humanity is when we think that we do not have the creative juices to really create what we want in the void? Have people talk with you about that?
Oh, all the time. And they've learned it from someone that was, you know, supposed to be a loved one or a person in authority telling them that they weren't smart enough, they weren't creative enough, they weren't good enough. But here's one thing about creativity and getting good at it. That does take time, right? We have to begin. We have to start. Your first painting isn't going to be the Mona Lisa, you know. So there is an aspect, but what is important is tapping into that part of your energy and allowing it to come out and not judging yourself so harshly. You begin and the adventure begins and you start allowing that space for yourself to become all that you are.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Leslie, this is really an exciting, at least the energy that I'm sensing, an exciting year. And I don't know why it feels like that. I'm hearing it from others, but certainly I'm seeing it for myself and the folks that I'm hanging out with. You are traveling all over in the spirit of accelerated expansiveness. I would so love for you to let folks know where you're going to be. And if people want to work with you one-on-one, what is the best way to do that so that that void that gets created is filled with abundance?
Absolutely. I work with people all over the world. It keeps expanding all the time. But, you know, go to my website, lesliefonteyne.com, LESLIEFONTEYNE.com. You can find me on transformationtalkradio.com. You can call me, 678-665-3366, and we can set up a chance to consult and talk and see if what I do is something that will help accelerate and propel you into all that you are. So I'm going to be all over the place, but definitely go to my website, take a look, and I would be delighted to talk with you about your next steps and what you want to create.
I love it. Leslie Fonteyne, for those of you out there, you just pop in Sheer Alchemy, and all of a sudden, that's what you're going to find. The other thing I would want to say to everyone is she is traveling, but you're also going to be in Seattle.
That's right.
In the Western Washington area, and then in Portland in March and April.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, March 26th at Emerald Spiral in Seattle, and then April 2nd and 3rd in Portland at the Body, Mind, Spirit Show at the Lloyd's Convention Center.
Awesome. We're hoping to get down there as well. Thank you guys for tuning us in, turning us on. Leslie, thank you so much for all that you do. And if you've missed any part of this, the show will play again later on tonight. Avoiding the Void. Allowing the void to create abundance. That's me, avoiding the void. We're going to take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Preceding audio was via a Skype call.